Hello, I'm Angel Rojas with DataCorps Technology Solutions. Today is Thursday, October 21st, 2021, and this is your Threat Landscape Update. Hi, and thanks for joining me on today's Threat Landscape Update. We'll get right to it. So the first thing that we're going to be looking at today is one of our 10 cybersecurity statistics to help you prevent a data breach. So today's statistic is that 23% of the organizations that the Verizon data breach investigation team was monitoring in 2020 experienced brute force or credential stuffing attacks. So these brute force and credential stuffing attacks are basically attacks aimed at cracking passwords. These password attacks are basically where a system automatically sends a bunch of passwords to something like an email login page or a company portal page or even a VPN server. And if the policies aren't in place to lock an account, or to lock out an account after so many password attempts, invalid password attempts, then these credential stuffing and brute force attacks can be successful in discovering somebody's valid passwords. So once you have one of these passwords, or once an attacker has one of these passwords, in many cases, those passwords are used elsewhere. And so the attack can continue by attacking other systems. So that's why it's critical to have good password hygiene. So today's action item that goes along with this statistic is to ask yourself several questions and to do a spot check on your password situation. So first off, are you and your team using a password manager to keep track of login credentials? Are you practicing good password hygiene? Do you have a written policy that states your company's position on passwords and where are your gaps? And also importantly, and we can help you with this, but you want to also make sure that your systems are set to lock out your accounts whenever there are invalid password attempts. Now, on these lockouts, we do get requests periodically from some clients to unlock their accounts. And a lot of times this can be an inconvenience. So when these requests come in, the first thing we want to know and we need to know is, did you forget your password? Or could this be a sign of an attack? And I understand it's a little inconvenient and it might be annoying at times, but if this is a sign of an attack, we have to take some action to protect you and your business. So we really, really appreciate your patience whenever we're doing password resets and whenever we're investigating these issues. We know it's inconvenient. We know it can get in the way sometimes, but it's absolutely critical for us to be able to respond to these tickets in this way so that we can protect you and your business. So those are some important reminders surrounding passwords and some of our processes and procedures in the background. And hopefully that helps you understand and look a little bit behind the curtain to see how we respond to these issues. So the next item I want to talk about is actually something I'm excited about. And last week I was excited about something else. This week I'm excited about something. This is good that there's something I'm pumped about every week, because that means that progress is being made and good things are happening. So this week, I'm happy to report that IT Glue, our platform, and you may have seen its sister product, MyGlue, which is our password manager that we make available to each and every one of you at no additional cost. But our parent platform, IT Glue, that stores all of our passwords for your networks and your devices, all of our passwords for every system that we use, as well as your documentation. So any data that we have about your systems, how they're put together, things like that, that's our inner sanctum. So IT Glue has added IP restrictions. And what does that mean? Why is this relevant to you? IT Glue is a cloud app. And by virtue of being a cloud app, it's open to the world. Basically, the whole world can have a crack at coming in. With implementation of these IP restrictions, we can tell IT Glue in the cloud that only requests from our office and from our data center are valid. Okay, that what that does is it limits the front door. It says if you're not coming from these particular IP addresses, we are not going to even allow you to touch the application. And what's neat is it kind of helps with the first item we discussed, that credential stuffing and brute force attacks, because then somebody trying to get to our password, somebody trying to get to that inner sanctum, they won't even be presented with the opportunity to try. The restriction will be in place, and their requests will be rejected right off the bat. So, turning that back around to you and your business, here's your action item. Have you vetted your vendors and your cloud apps? Are things such as IP restrictions available? In my opinion, again, this is my humble opinion, these things should be standard and they should not be an additional cost. We have experienced with cloud vendors doing this on behalf of some of you, where there's an additional cost to add IP restrictions, or there might be an additional cost to implement them because they haven't written them out. Again, this is my opinion. This is not, the norm or whatnot, but this is just my opinion. It's 2021. We have been at this for quite some time now with cyber attacks. We have known that IP restrictions are an important protection. Any cloud vendor not making that available right now is actually doing you a disservice. And to me, it is a sign that they are not thinking critically about your data and your protection in you as a customer. So if any of your cloud vendors decide that it's an extra charge to add these protections, or they are unwilling, I would urge you to reconsider your relationship with that vendor. It is that important, and you want to make sure that your vendors, those people servicing you and holding your data, are thinking critically about that. So again, action item. Have you vetted your vendors and your cloud apps? Do you know their strengths and their weaknesses? And I would urge you to make time this month to meet with me. We've got a list of vendor vetting questions that we can help you guide that conversation. So definitely take some time to meet with me about that. And by the way, this is not to attack our vendors, but we want to sharpen each other together and we want to go through these things together. So if your vendor doesn't have that, but they're working towards it, or they're making a good faith effort to answer the question and not dodge it. Again, you want to gauge their level of engagement. They're not going to be generally forthcoming and tell you everything that's going on behind the scenes because they're probably going to be a little defensive about it or a little embarrassed about it. But what you want is a sincere response, a sincere effort. You want to know that, and you want to be comfortable with the effort that they're making. So, yeah, that's what I have for that point. We're still watching the Hikvision and Dahua camera situation. If there's anything critical, we'll notify you about it as we're made aware of it. But it is a good time to start considering, is this a significant risk to my business? And we'll be more than happy to meet with you and discuss your options. I've discussed network segmentation in the past, where we take these devices and we isolate them in their own network. That can be effective. But again, I wouldn't make plans to replace these with devices that take security seriously. What we've seen is very slow updates that are being rolled out to fix vulnerabilities. We've seen Hikvision's leadership denying that vulnerabilities exist despite being presented evidence of vulnerabilities. So these items are critical to me. And again, they show that there is not an effort of good faith, like we discussed in our last point, to correct these things. So action items, does your video surveillance system get regularly updated? Who does it? When is the last time it was done? And have you verified this? Do you have a way to make sure that that's being done? So spot check your video surveillance system, note the make, model, and the last time it was updated. And if no updates are available for that video system within the last 12 months, I would reconsider what you are using for video surveillance. Again, anything connected to the internet, anything connected to the network needs to have regular updates. The software is not perfect. It's changing constantly. The environment is changing constantly, and it needs to be able to adapt. So again, check for those things. And if you need any help with those, I am more than happy to help. Just reach out. Let's see, coming around the corner to the end, I want to let you know we did try the email system protection update last week. We rolled it out. We had to roll it back because we noticed that some devices were trying to authenticate with a legacy or an older type of configuration. So if you've been with us for a while, your iPhone may be configured a little differently than what we are, how we're configuring them now. And what's happening is the system is not recognizing the way your username is being presented. So that's why there were a few issues. So we immediately saw that, rolled it back so that there would be no further issues. And we're going to be sending you an email on how to correct that. It was a small subset of clients, but still, we want to give you what to check, what to look for. And we'd like to try that again here in the next coming weeks. So be on the lookout for that. Finally, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We're sharing tips on LinkedIn and on Twitter. So be sure to grab those, share those with your team, and share this video so that they have this information as well. Remember, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And if you've got somebody on your team that isn't receiving the education, isn't receiving tips, isn't receiving constant feedback on how to be cyber aware and how to be safe online, they could be the one that brings in that ransomware or that attack right to your front door. And it's not going to be them doing it intentionally. It would be an accident, but still, accidents do cost trouble. Accidents do cause disruption. So we want to do everything we can to avoid them. Thank you very much. You're a blessing to me and my family. I appreciate you very much, and to me and my team. And have a blessed weekend. We'll see you soon. If you have any questions in the meantime, please be sure to reach out. Thanks and God bless.